All right, welcome back, everybody. Statistics South Africa released the 2014 statistical release of recorded live births this week. Now, this document presents information on recorded live births in the country. The Department of Home Affairs has called to the public to register, or called on the public to register births before the 31st of January. To talk to us about the findings of the release is Kefiloe Masiteng, who is the Deputy Director General of Population and Social Statistics. Good to have you in studio. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting us again.
All right, tell us a little bit more about this particular survey that's done.
Okay, this is not actually a survey. This is the data that we get from Home Affairs. When the births are registered, we go to Home Affairs, we take all the forms for birth registration, and then we go and process the data and then come and release it now in the form of information about how many births were recorded for that particular year. Okay,
so what are we looking at? What are the numbers looking like?
What we have seen is that for the year 2013 that we have just released this week, we have found that about 1.1 million babies were registered across for the year 2013. But when you look at those numbers, about 880,000 of the 1.1 million were current registration, which would be registered for the year. But you have about 275,000 of them that are also called late registration, taking into cognizance the fact that Home Affairs is encouraging that all births should be registered within 30 days.
Within 30 days. It's
yes.
Quite interesting when we see this provincial breakdown, obviously Gauteng recording the most. Is this... you know, does this mean because the population is greater within Gauteng, or is it really as simple as there are more reported live births in Gauteng as opposed to other provinces?
I think it can be three issues. One, the fact that the population in Gauteng is high. Secondly, that yes, there would then be more recorded births that would happen in Gauteng. But also the head office effect, that the head office of Home Affairs is in Pretoria. So you would find that many of the forms would end up being registered within Home Affairs, because remember, some of the people then would come and register at head office. Yeah. So there are those systematic issues about the system also being at head office. Okay.
What did you find were the common trends on the findings of this release?
The common trends that we have seen is that in the years from 1994, there's about 21 million babies that have been recorded. That would be an estimation about 1 million babies have been born per year, or since 1994. Secondly, what is interesting is that about 61% of the information on the forms, we find that 61% of the forms did not have information about the fathers of the children. So you have that dilemma in terms of understanding who the fathers of the children are when they get registered. And thirdly, you have something like about 53% of the mothers that have been registered that would have said and felt that they have never been married. So these are having serious implications in terms of family formations and the understanding of the platforms into which and families in which the babies are born. And lastly, I think what we have seen is that over the years there is now a declining somewhat levels in the number of babies that get born. That can be related to the choices that the women are making. And lastly, the median age of mothers is now at about 27 years old, which might mean people start late, or you have that average of other people having babies at later ages.
Is that so? That's the average.
But that does not discount the fact that there's also an early start, which is related to the high levels of teenage pregnancy. Okay, that's one thing I do want to get into. So let's first focus on the average age. So as it stands right now, is that the average age of giving birth in South Africa, 27 years old? 27 years old.
Okay, yes. But it's quite interesting because that must have jumped up since the last figures released.
Yes, it is, but not
dramatically.
No.
Is this an annual? Do you release this annually?
We release it annually, but we have a backlog of 2 years because we actually have to wait for all the particular years' forms to be given to us. So you find that the forms can come in drips and drabs. That's why it takes us a bit longer to transfer them and end up publishing them. But we are hoping that with time, as they automate their system, it will be improved.
Let's talk about younger mothers now. Late birth registrations by mothers between the ages of 1 to 14 years was 67,199. I mean, we're talking between 1 and 14. Obviously, I mean, that would, I would imagine, between the ages of sort of 10 to 14 would be more realistic. Is this a jump in previous statistics?
It is not actually a big jump, but it is that statistics that's to show that you have those late birth registrations, and there are two issues that are related to that. One would be that when mothers have babies over the weekend, and then they get released over the weekend, then there are no officials in the hospitals from Home Affairs to be able to register the babies. So you have that proportion of the kids of mothers who would be giving birth during the weekend, and then they would not be able to be registering during that time. And once they have gone back home, it's going to take them another time, one, to recover and be able to go back to Home Affairs and register. But there has always been a trend of late registration, especially also for older mothers. That one we have also seen. And of interest could also have to be to understand if it could be that there are births that take place at home, and then it takes longer for them to be registered.
Okay.
So there are interesting factors that are starting to show in terms of late registration.
Just finally, I know we've run into time constraints, but when we look at the drop in figures, the drop that they recorded in 2010, there were more births as opposed to now.
Yes.
Why? What do you think is behind that?
I think the general phenomenon is that there is a declining fertility amongst women, and that would be attributable to choices of women in terms of how many children women would want to have. But the fertility rate in the country is at about 2.5 children per woman within the ages of 15 to 49.
Yeah, good. Very interesting. Is it good? Are you happy with these statistics? The statistics are showing a good and balancing equation in terms of the population growth. Good.
When we know that there are births and then there are deaths that are also declining. So the population somehow is getting balanced. And then I think we also need to understand the third factor, which is migration, which are the three factors: births, deaths, and migration, in terms of understanding the population.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for talking to us here on the program. Stats that were released from Stats SA, and talking us through this was Kefiloe Masiteng, DDG, Population and Social Statistics. Let's take a break.